Hello my dear creative, and welcome to day 3 of my interior sketching series, which will be about 3-point perspective. Over the past few days we've explored 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and today we'll be talking about 3-point perspective. Now let's briefly recap what we've learned so far in this series. Let's highlight the key points of 1-point perspective. It was day 1, so we have the horizon line and one and only vanishing point on this horizon line, and all the lines of the room are running into it. So we as a viewer standing at this level, this eye level, and perceiving this space in such a way. So it was covered more in day 1, 1-point perspective. Day 2 was about 2-point perspective. It's when we can see an angle of the room, for example, or a building. The same concept of the horizon line, but this time we have 2 vanishing points. So the vanishing points are on the same line, they are aligned, and the lines of the walls, they are running either to the left or to the right vanishing point. This is absolutely foundational knowledge for interior sketching, knowledge about perspective, and of course it's just the tip of the iceberg, and my full online course base dives much deeper into perspective drawing for interior design. I'll share more information about online course base at the end of this video. And now back to our day 3-point perspective. There are a lot of similarities with 2-point perspective or an oblique view that I've covered in the previous day, the day 2. That's why actually I'm giving this kind of perspective, 3-point perspective, at the very end of this series, because you really need the basic knowledge of 1 and 2 points to understand this concept in a more fun and easy way. Because if you are, for example, a complete beginner and you dive straight into mastering 3-point perspective, it might seem a bit intimidating and hard. So with this scenario, we have the horizon line, which is elevated. So our point of view is kind of from the top of the ceiling. We are almost above the room. And there are 2 vanishing points on the horizon line, and also there is 1 vanishing point at the very, very bottom. And all our lines, which were in 2-point perspective, for example, vertical, this time they run down to this 3rd vanishing point. When to use this type of perspective, in which cases? So this is really a lifesaver when dealing with tiny spaces like tiny wardrobe spaces, bathrooms, small offices. I personally use this type of perspective when I need to open this small space on the sketch, so I kind of show maximum of what can be seen. And of course we could use 1-point perspective or 2-point perspective, but what I found with 3-point perspective, the room looks much more dynamic and interesting, especially if it's a small room. For example, if you're dealing with a bathroom sketch and using 1-point perspective or 2-point perspective, very often you need to draw several sketches looking into different directions, right? So with 1-point perspective, it's like looking to the one wall and the opposite wall, so you usually might need to present 2 different sketches for the same space. With 3-point perspective, I find that it is much more dynamic, and you can draw just 1 sketch to represent your idea fully, to open the space in such a way that your viewer, your customer, she or he understands completely your concept from just looking at 1 single sketch. For the same purposes, in architecture and in interior design, we use axonometric projections and also isometric projections. But what I find with three-point perspective, it just looks much more fun, right? I love personally isometric and axonometric. They look really good, professional, kind of classic approach. But in my opinion, three-point perspective is just so much more fun. And clients also really love it. If you're, for example, drawing sketch commissions, or you are an interior designer and want to present your interior design project to your customer. Plus, another bonus of three-point perspective is that since the horizon line, our eye level is super elevated, so it's kind of outside the room. And this way we can see a lot of flooring opening, so our flooring area opens really well. So you can also use three-point perspective when you have in your interior design project very beautiful tiling, maybe on the floor with some specific ornament or pattern that you would love to show off. When drawing in three-point perspective, when using this kind of perspective for the first time, it might be a little bit tricky because your brain kind of forgets that there is a vanishing point at the very bottom, and subconsciously you simply want to draw what you know already from two-point perspective. So you want to draw all the lines vertically instead of drawing them down into the vanishing point. Okay, so now as you can see, I've reached almost the final stage of the linear drawing, because I'm adding some details to this wardrobe interior, some shoes, this nice little bench. In my opinion, it looks a bit too big, but that's okay for educational purposes. I'm just trying to make this sketch as quickly as possible in order, again, to show you that interior sketching by hand, it can be really fast, and you can very quickly hand render your ideas that you have in your head and transfer them onto the paper without using computer, because I find very often creative people, the moment they sit in front of the computer and some soft, they're kind of lost immediately in technical stuff, and it affects at some point creativity. So for the brainstorming phase of interior design, I find that pen on paper sketching, it's just the absolute best tool. Great, now we are done with the linear phase of the drawing and switching to coloring, one of the most favorite phases for the majority of my students, coloring with markers. If you're using, as I am, a regular sketchbook with regular and not marker paper, I recommend you to put a piece of paper behind so you can easily use the next page for sketching. Again, color palette will be very limited like in the previous days, because I believe you don't need a lot of markers to showcase your ideas, and you can start with having very limited color palette. I share it on my blog at schoolofsketching.com. I will leave the link to it below, as well as the link to these markers that I'm using. Maybe you find that you would love to also try this brand. I'll leave the link on Amazon to these markers. In my opinion, markers is a perfect instrument, perfect media, especially for beginners in interior sketching, because you can still do layers like in watercolor. But what I notice with my students, and currently I have more than 21,000 people enrolled in my paid and free online courses in my School of Sketching, and I hear a lot of feedback on different materials, and I find that watercolor for beginners, it can be really hard. At the same moment, markers are much easier. Plus, they're easy to use. They also have layers. They have this watercolor translucency. You can do layering. So if you're a beginner, go for markers. So this was our 3-point perspective sketch. 1, 2, 3, 3 points. As always, I sign my sketch at the very end. So if you found this series helpful, you will love, absolutely love what I cover in my full course, online course Base. It's packed with even more techniques and tips to elevate your interior sketching skills. There are currently more than 21,000 creatives enrolled in my online school of sketching. Among them, there is a majority of interior designers. Just look at this before-after amazing transformations from some of my students who took the Base online course. Their progress is truly inspiring, and it's proof that anyone can improve their skills with the right guidance. By joining Base, a course that teaches all the basic techniques you need to implement sketching in your interior design practice, you also become part of a vibrant community of sketching enthusiasts, of interior designers. You will have access to private WhatsApp chat, to exclusive tips, and really supportive network that will help you stay motivated and inspired. You can see some of the testimonials. Here in this video, let me just quickly go over the landing page of this course so you know what to expect. You can see, for example, these drawings from part 1 of the course. These are absolutely core foundational video tutorials where we draw 5 core sketches, and at the bottom, so you can see now screenshots from the lessons, and at the bottom you can see examples, these little thumbnails, photos, examples of my students' drawings from this same lesson, again just to inspire you. And part 2 is about bonuses, a lot of lovely bonus lessons. So with Base course you can start completely from scratch. You can also watch a sample lesson. It's about 20 minutes long, so you just click this button, preview, and it takes you to this bonus lesson. In this lesson, I cover velvet texture, and we're drawing very beautiful Danish design sofa. So it's kind of a tutorial for beginners if you're getting familiar with working with markers, if you want to take a look at what my follow along kind of style of teaching looks like. Here on the website you can also read the program of the course in details. And of course, most favorite part is to see the drawings made by your peers from the course. So don't slack on your sketching routine. It's your portfolio, your greeting card. You can also read the story behind the course, because online course Base, it initially started as live in-person program. So it was trial tested in real life before recording the video lesson. So enroll in the course, learn about the materials for this course, and at the end you'll get a certificate of graduation when completing the course. If you are new to my online school of sketching, you can read a little bit more about me, and if your goal is to become a sketch artist, you can consider taking a bundle. If you have any questions about the course or want to know more, join me for a live Q&A session. I will leave the date of the session below in the description. I'll be there to answer all your questions and help you decide if Base is the right fit for you. So thank you for being part of this series. I hope you enjoyed them. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about this interior sketching series, which day was your favorite one, and I can't wait to see you in the course. Bye for now.